Alright, so I'm going to show how to open up and disassemble this Dell Inspiron 15 7579 2-in-1. Alright, so first we're going to use a PH1 or JIS1 screwdriver. Alright, and we're going to remove all the screws. And you always want to keep the screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. The way I do that is I just go row by row and put them in order like that on my desk. Okay, so as an example, just like that. So you put 4 across, and then you go to the next one, there's 1 there, and then you go down, there's 2, and then 3. Okay, so that's how I keep the screws in order. Again, they can be different size, shapes, and lengths, so it's always a good idea to keep them in order. Even if they do look the same, I would highly recommend putting them all back where you got them, like the exact same spot you took it out from. Alright, so if you want, you can do 4, 3, and 3 if it takes too much space on your desk. As long as you can remember where the screws came from, then you can do it however works best for you. Okay. Alright. Get those 3. We'll get these 3 here. Alright, once we get all these screws out, we're going to have to pop the bottom cover off. This one has a screen issue. I don't know if I'm gonna show how to repair this, but we'll see. Alright, so anyways, we got this. We're gonna pop the bottom cover off. We'll try a suction cup first. I don't think it's gonna work, but sometimes it does, and it makes things easier, but nope, not working. So what we're gonna do, okay, is we're basically, let's see, this one I have to be careful because the screen hinge is kind of messed up. But let's see, I'm going to open it up slowly. Okay, have to be careful with the hinge on this side. Okay, and then what I do usually is I get my fingernails in the gap there, and depending which side, so on this model, because this edge is on this side, so what I do is I use my thumb on this side, and then I use my fingernails on this side. So I pull with my fingernails and push with my thumb. You don't want to push on the trackpad side here, just on the area, the palm rest around it, okay? So as you can see, when I do this, this cover comes out pretty easily. So we're gonna go ahead and go down. You can kind of pry this side too, but you want to be careful not to use your thumb on the trackpad. You want to push on the palm rest area. Okay, so here you can see it's all coming out. We're gonna go around, and this is a little more tricky because of the broken hinge, but there we go. We got the cover, and the whole thing just comes off pretty easily. Okay, so I'm gonna set this aside. Oops, let me see where I can put this. Here, and this hinge is broken, so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna be removing the screen first if I can. So I'm gonna try and open up the screen more here. I have to be careful because the hinge might actually damage the screen. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm putting this on my desk with the screen. Let me see if I can show this a little. I'll zoom out. So the screen is hanging off the desk, and then the hinges you can see are here. First thing you want to do is disconnect the battery. Okay, so the battery, there's 2 ways the battery's connected. It's connected here to the battery itself and then to the board. If you want, you can remove it from the battery itself, because usually when you buy the replacement battery, it's not going to come with the connector. So let me zoom in and I will do that. Here you can see the battery model number. I'll flip it over and show that in a bit, but let me take out, it looks like there's only 2 screws holding this down. So let's remove those 2 screws. Again, try to remember which way you remove these, because you want to make sure to put back the same screws where you got them from. Okay. So once you remove those 2 screws, yes, we can lift the battery out. And I'm going to disconnect the connector here. So I have to be careful. I'm going to rotate this so we have a little more slack to work with. And usually you want to kind of rock the connector out. So you kind of pull on one side, the left, and then pull on the right, and just keep slowly working it. This one seems to be a little difficult. Let me see if there's... Sometimes you can get the wings of the connector here, and you can kind of use that. So as you can see, it's kind of pulling those gold pins out. Okay, and you can use like a small pry tool to do this. I just use my fingernails, but right now it's upside down, so it's going to be weird. So I'm going to use my other thumb here. So just like that, you can see it's rocking that way. Then I'll use my thumb here, and you see it's rocking that way. Then I'll use my thumb here. Okay. And you kind of just want to keep rocking the connector, and there you go. The battery just came out just like that. So here you go. The battery model number here is WDX0R. So this is a very common Dell laptop battery model. I don't know if you can see, but it looks like they can actually fit way more stuff here. So there might be a larger battery, or on some models maybe a hard drive. So as you can see here, there's a HDD1 connector here. So there's actually a place you can put a standard hard drive here, and then you can connect it. But I don't know why on this model they decided to do it this way. But it looks like this model they added a speaker here. So it looks like on this there's probably a way you could mount like a hard drive in here or something. They have the connector, but yeah, they decided not to use it. All right, anyways, after disconnecting the battery, what you want to do is press and hold the power button for 10 to 15 seconds, and make sure that the screen is open when you do this. So right now the screen hinge is still open, okay, and it's just hanging off my desk. So 10 to 15 seconds, that will drain any power from the internal components, and it will reduce the risk of damaging the rest of the computer. So because this has a broken hinge, I'm going to remove the screen before I go over like the SSD and all of that other stuff. Normally I would go over the hard drive or the SSD and the RAM first, but in this case I want to remove the screen as soon as possible, just to reduce the risk of breaking anything when I start trying to take things apart. Okay, so we got the wireless antennas here, so we're gonna have to remove this screw. This is also a PH1 or JAS1 screw, and then this little metal bracket comes out. All right, sorry I can't get a good angle or view of this because the screen, I have to take it out. It's like hanging off my desk. All right, so anyways, what you can do to remove the antennas, you kind of pull on the tail. If you can't get or if you don't really see well, you can watch another one of my videos doing this. All the wireless antennas are pretty much the same. You just go at the tail and you just pull it straight up, okay, just like that. If you're just removing the screen, you technically don't even have to disconnect the antennas, because you can just pull the wireless card out like that and then leave it attached. But to make it safer, I'm gonna just disconnect it. All right. So the wireless card, it comes out like that. It goes slightly up at an angle. It pops up, and then you can pull it out. All right, so the wireless antennas are taped down in here. You can just peel that tape up. Okay, just like that. And then we're gonna disconnect these, the touchscreen and the, this is the LCD LVDS connector. And this is either the touchscreen or the camera. I don't know, it might be combined with something, all right? So anyways, oops. Okay, sorry about that. I was getting an alarm going off. So we're gonna disconnect the cables here. So these cables, I'm gonna use a little plastic tool to peel up or get the adhesive out. So I'm gonna get underneath. There's a little clear plastic tab here. And what you wanna do is peel that up. The safest way is to roll the plastic tab back. Don't pull straight up. You wanna kind of roll it off, okay? Once you do that, you can flip this black plastic tab up, okay, that's underneath. So here you flip it up, and then you can pull this cable out easily. All right, this is very common on all the laptops. I'll show it on these other connectors, but yeah, once I get the screen out, I can show a little clearer. Okay, we're gonna get this adhesive out as well. Just lift that up. Right, once you get that up, just peel this back. Okay. So peel that back, and then there's a metal latch. This is just like the MacBook latch screens on like the 2012 to 2015 models. All right, so move that metal latch up. Then you can grab the metal latch, and then using the bottom parts of the metal latch with your fingers, just pull or push that connector out, just like this. All right, so there you go. This connector just comes out, and it feels like there's actually adhesive here, so you want to peel this up slowly. Make sure not to bend the connector, so when you pull it up, you want it to go straight up. You don't want to like curl the connector if you can help it. All right, so there we go. We got that connector out, and oh boy, it looks like they hid the That's the worst design ever. So they hid the hinge underneath the motherboard, so I actually have to take the whole motherboard out just to get the screen out. So stupid design. I guess we're gonna be doing a complete disassembly on this, and yep, all right. And the estimate I was giving the customer might be slightly off because I was not expecting to have to take the whole computer apart like this, but I guess we will do what we have to. So we got the SSD here. This looks like a SATA, M.2 SATA SSD. I'm going to take the screw out. Alright, once you take the screw out, the SSD pops up like this. And we're just going to pull this back. And let me double check. This is a SanDisk SSD. It is SATA 6 Gbps. Okay, so this is a SATA M.2 SSD. I don't know if it supports PCIe NVMe SSDs. If you want, you can try putting one in. Worst thing is it won't work, and then you just return it and get a new one, assuming you can buy parts that are returnable. Alright, the RAM is underneath these two flaps here. Apparently they're only using one stick. This one's empty. To remove the RAM, what you do is you pull these two metal tabs to the sides away from the stick of RAM. Alright, and then it will pop up at an angle. Then you just pull it out, and here you go. So the RAM here is 8 gigs, PC4 2400T. So you can put any type of or any size of RAM you want, as long as it's PC4 2400T, it should work. 16 gigs, 16 gigs, 32 gigs, 64 gigs, whatever they have, you should be able to put it. I haven't really seen many RAM stick capacity limitations. Most computers, you can put whatever size, even though they will tell you on their website that they limit it. So the keyboard looks like it's held in place with all these little screws. So yeah, if you wanted to remove the keyboard, you can, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take out the main board just because I have to get the screen out. So sorry, this video, everything is like so zoomed out. But anyways, we're going to remove the fan connector. So to get that, you just grab the wings and kind of just wiggle the connector like this. And keep wiggling it. It might feel like it's not doing anything, but just keep wiggling. Keep going. Eventually it will pop out, okay? Just keep going, and there you go. See? Alright, there's two screws holding the fan in place. We're going to remove those two. This is a horrible design. I don't know who decided on this. Alright, take out that one fan. Got that, set it aside. If you want, I have videos on how to repair these kinds of fans. Just look up fan repair, it's Binh, with my name, it's been repaired. And this kind, you have to cut these plastic things off. But anyways, we're gonna leave that. Okay, oh man, sorry about that. Okay, so now we're gonna disconnect this cable, which connects to this I/O board, which is a it houses the, oh, okay, this is the wireless card. For some reason I was thinking it was the SSD. So that's the wireless card, SD card slot, USB port, and then there's also the CMOS BIOS battery, as well as this connector here for the power buttons and the volume buttons. So all of these are connected to this one board. We're going to disconnect this, so just pull this tab up to lift this metal latch, and then just like the screen cable, grab the metal latch, and towards the bottom of the latch you want to push and pull on it just like that, and it comes out. Alright, so I'm going to leave all of this stuff in because I'm just going to pull the motherboard out. So it looks like the keyboard connector here, keyboard backlight connector here, trackpad connector here, and I'm not sure, I think this is just the battery light. So Dell made it so everything connects, all of those connect to this one board, and then this one board connects to the motherboard here. So it's kind of a nice design. If something breaks, you can like pull out the one individual component, like just this little board or something, or just this cable. So that's kind of nice. Anyways, to remove that, just get under the latch here, okay? So underneath this plastic latch, you flip that up, just like the other one over here, and then you can pull this cable out, okay? It looks like I have a customer coming soon. Then you got here the speaker connector. So the speaker connects to the other speaker with the cable here. We're just going to disconnect the speakers from the main board. Just grab the wings of this, wiggle it, keep wiggling, and it eventually pops out just like the other one. Okay, just like that. Okay, and now we're going to remove, oh, actually there's also the DC jack or the charging port here. Same thing with the wings. Just grab the wings and just wiggle it. Okay, keep wiggling it, and eventually it pops out just like that. So the charge port is held in place with one screw over here. So if you want to remove it, you can remove this one screw. It looks like it's still kind of firm in there, so you kind of have to wiggle it and pull it up, it looks like. Hopefully I'm not going to damage this cable. Yeah, this is kind of tough to remove. I might just leave it in. It feels like there's something holding it in place. If yours is broken, you can use force to kind of rip it out. Let me see if I can pull it out this way. Nope. So I think there's adhesive underneath it. I don't want to like yank on it and then damage the cable that's underneath here, so I'm probably going to end up leaving it. Yeah, that's holding in pretty tight. But once you remove that screw, you should be able to actually rip that connector out if it's broken, and you can replace it with another one. I would recommend testing the replacement first just by plugging it in here and not removing this to make sure it's the charge port. Alright, so now I'm going to remove all these screws holding the board down. There's two screws holding this plate over the USB-C port. I'm not sure why. Maybe because the USB-C ports break. I don't know. Okay. So take those two screws out. Then you get this metal plate and just set that aside. Okay, and then we're going to remove the motherboard. It looks like there's one screw over here. So these are all these really wide screws. Okay. One screw here. You probably should mark this because there's not really, oh actually there's these little white arrows here that point to tell you where the screws came, or where there was a screw. Okay, so I guess I don't have to mark it. We'll just take out all these screws. Okay, then there's another one up here. So we got 3 along this side, and then we got one here. I don't know if there's any hidden screws under these. Nope. Okay, and then one screw over here. Okay, so once you get those 5 screws out, hopefully we'll be able to pull the motherboard out. Okay, let's see here. It is all wiggly, so hopefully it's going to come out. Okay, so you're going to have to be careful because there's all these cables kind of in the way. So just move all these cables out of the way or put them underneath the board. Alright, then you can lift this up. Just like this. Sorry again that it's so far zoomed out, but I can't help it because this stuff is all underneath. And actually I might not have had to take the whole thing out. So as you can see, this metal piece, or hopefully you can see, it goes that way. Let me see here. Might have done all of that for nothing. Oh my god. Okay, hopefully I don't risk damaging their computer because, okay, so it is underneath here, so you kind of do have to lift it out, it looks like. Otherwise, this metal piece will kind of push on the back here. So it looks like to be safe, you do want to do it. I don't know if it's possible to remove it without it. You might be able to remove it with just loosening these screws and not really taking the whole board out, just so you can kind of lift the board up a tiny bit. But yeah, anyways, we're going to set this aside. Okay, I like to put it upside down because there's all this stuff protecting it from getting like shocked or anything if you end up getting some static or anything on it. Alright, and it looks like there's only 2 screws holding the hinges in place right now. So after the cover's removed, there's only 2 screws holding this in place. So you do want to be careful opening and closing the laptop when you take the bottom cover off, because if these 2 screw mounts break, then your thing is going to be a lot weaker. Right, so there's only 2 screws. We're going to remove those 2 screws. I'm probably going to have to take that message. I'm getting text messages, so I might have to answer to that. Alright, so we'll remove those 2 screws here, and they have arrows pointing to those as well. Okay. Uh-oh, I'm getting a call now. Okay, so remove those 2 screws. After you do that, you should be able to lift up the whole board, or the whole screen. Is it caught under something? Is this okay? Nope. There we go. So those little plastic mounts were kind of holding it in place. And there we go. We got the screen out. And I'm getting a call right now, so I might have to take that. But anyways, we took all of that out. Here you can see the keyboard. You can actually take all these screws out if you want to replace the keyboard. That's pretty straightforward. Just also take this board out. But yeah, you take all these screws out and you can replace the keyboard. Just know you do have to take the whole motherboard and everything else out. So here you see there's a whole bunch of little screws in there. Again, the customer is just asking me to fix their screen. I'm not going to risk messing around with their other stuff. So on this one, the screen mounting mechanism is broken. So this piece is just wobbling around, and I'm going to try and fix that. I couldn't remove the bezel or the frame here because this was in the way. The rest of the laptop was in the way, so I actually had to pull the whole laptop apart just so I could get to this and pop this stuff out. But here you can see how loose this hinge is, and that's what's ending up causing issues with the laptop. So I'm gonna get in the frame here. Same thing, you can use pry tools. I'm gonna use my fingernails, but give me a second because I'm getting too many calls and texts, so I'm gonna answer those and I will be back. Alright, so I'm back. I'm gonna try and pop this out. I don't know if it will come out or not, but on this side it has all these clips that are holding it in place, and the broken hinge already popped most of them out, so I'm gonna try and just pop the rest out. Hopefully the screen won't get damaged. Okay, so I'm just going around. Oops, sorry, it's hard to keep this in view because I can't do this over my desk. It's at a weird angle if I do it that way. But it looks like these clips are super difficult to remove, so that broken hinge put a lot of force in there to pop all of these things out. Okay, I might have to use my metal pry tool to do this. I don't know if they don't seem to want to pop out at all. Okay, there we go. So when you do this, you kind of have to be careful not to insert the tool too far. If you want, you can use plastic pry tools. I insert the tool about this far. Okay, that's probably a little more than half a centimeter. And then what you do is you pry towards the front of the screen. So I'm pulling it towards the back, and that makes the metal tool pry forward. Okay, so just like that. And I'm gonna have to be careful because we're getting to sensitive areas here on the screen. Okay, so just like that. So you kind of have to insert the tool slightly pointing towards the back and then pull forward. Just like this. There we go. Okay, I have to be careful because if this breaks, I'm gonna have to buy them a new screen, and I do not want to buy a new screen. These things are super pricey. Okay, so let's continue going, prying forward just like this. Okay, the whole screen is popping forward. Okay, let's see. I'm not sure how it's being held in place here. Somehow, I mean, all the clips are popped out, but for some reason it's still holding itself in place. So I don't know what's holding it, and I can't pull this hinge backwards. So I mean, this hinge I can rotate and put it completely flat, which is what I want to do, so I can lift the whole screen up, which is what you're supposed to do. But again, or actually maybe I can do it since the laptop's not holding it now. Can I? I don't know if it's going to break the screen. The hinge is pushing on the back. See, this hinge, for some reason, it won't turn. And I don't know how I'm going to solve that issue. Okay, I can actually hold the hinge itself now. And let's see. Jeez. I'm using a lot of force and it's not rotating at all. So I don't know what to do. Okay, let's see. Can I pull the thing forward now? Kind of. Yeah, no. What in the world? Okay, I see. So the cable is actually attached to this hinge. What in the world? So how am I supposed to even, uh-oh, stuff is broken and falling around in there. There we go. I don't know how I'm gonna fix this. They probably need to replace the whole back panel. So all the screw mounts here are broken. Usually what I do is I put some strong epoxy JB Weld in here and just clean off all the debris first. Let me actually do that real quick, because the only problem with that is it seems like this hinge itself is broken, because I can't, no matter how much force I put into it, I can't seem to twist this. I'm gonna try with some pliers and we will see. Okay, let me get some pliers to hold this. Let me get some bigger pliers to hold this better. All right, I'll be back in a bit. Let me pause this. Okay, I'm not sure what I'll use. I don't think this will work. I'm probably gonna have to use this because it has a longer flat area. So I think what I can do is hold this like that, and then maybe I can use this to hold on to the hinge itself, like this. Okay, and while I'm holding the hinge, maybe I can bend this open. This hinge won't move at all. I don't know. I don't know what to tell the customer. I mean, I can glue it to where it stays this way, but then they won't be able to open it completely out to use as a tablet. So as you can see, I can open it this far, but after that it gets stuck. I'm getting a customer calling right now, so shoot, I'm gonna have to answer that and I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. I'm gonna try something here. So I'm gonna try just threading this cable out, and let's see if I can pull this out of the hinge actually. So I think the hinge, the cable just loops into there. So let me see if I can actually separate that so I don't have to take the cable out completely. Yep. So here you can see the excess cabling here. It just tucks inside the hinge here. And now I can kind of see inside this hinge mechanism. So there's a screw in there I can take out. I don't know if I can take out the whole hinge mechanism though. Let me see what I can do. I'm gonna pop this, try and pop this out. Okay, the problem is, so this cable's not attached anymore. Can I lift this whole thing out? Okay, good. So now the hinge is separate from the screen. So I'm gonna pop the screen forward and see if I can disconnect it. I don't know what's holding it up to the top there. I think there's adhesive up there. So it looks like there might be an adhesive at the very top. So I don't think I can just pop this out. It's probably gonna damage the screen, which is stupid. I hate when companies do stuff like that. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm pulling it off my desk to see what I can see inside. That sucks because I just need to get this screw out here. Shoot. Yep, I don't think I'm gonna be able to pull this screen out without damaging it. It's probably gonna get damaged. I can try heating it and peeling it. I don't know. So I'm not sure what to do because it looks like there's adhesive holding it down there. This thing I can kind of maneuver it out to the side here, but then it's gonna get bent and I don't want to do that. Let's see. I might have to do this off camera. There's a tiny screw in there. It's a PH, it looks like a PH 00. Let me try getting a PH 00 screwdriver, and we're just gonna try and pop it out. It might also work with a PH 0, but I'm gonna try with the PH 00. I don't know if removing that screw is gonna help with anything, but let's see. It'll let me take this silver sleeve off of the thing, if I remember correctly. No? Oh yeah, there we go. So now we can remove this sleeve here, but because I can't open the hinge properly, I think it's going to be stuck. Okay, let's see here. Can I close the hinge? So here now you can actually see the mechanism, like the gears. Okay, can I remove it now? Come on. How about I remove that more? Just close it all the way. I'm scared. There we go. I'm scared I'm gonna end up damaging the thing doing this. But here you can see the hinge mechanism now. So I can actually, let's move this into place. Okay. And let's see how this hinge mechanism, where it's getting jammed, if we can see a place where it's getting jammed or not. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you guys to see, hopefully. Okay, so here you can see these hinge mechanisms. I'm going to hold this with the pliers on this side, okay? Just like this. I think this might have gotten bent, and that's gonna prevent it from working properly. So I don't know, this cable's in the way, but as you can see when we rotate this, let's see here, it's getting stuck. Like I can't even turn it anymore. I don't know how I'm gonna hold this to prevent it from twisting. Here, maybe here. Okay. It won't turn at all. So this hinge mechanism, for some reason it gets caught right here. I don't know if this got twisted in here or something, but for some reason once it reaches that point it doesn't want to move anymore. So let's see, this gear, those gears turn okay. And I rotate this. It gets stuck at this point for some reason. So I'm gonna have to ask my customer what they want to do. I'm wondering if it has something to do with these bolts here. I don't know if I can tighten this or loosen this at all. Yeah. This is kind of dangerous. So I'm trying to tighten these little nuts. Nope, I don't think so. Nope, I don't think so. Doesn't move at all. Alright, so I'm gonna see what my customer wants, because I could probably glue this to where it works like a normal laptop, but it won't work as a tablet. Like they won't be able to flip it over. So I'm gonna contact my customer. I'll see what they want to do. I'm most likely going to have to put this back together. I'll probably just epoxy, but if he's okay with that. So basically normally I would open this all the way, but I can't even do that. So what I'm gonna have to do is like work on it with it slightly open like this. I'll probably put in like JB Weld where the screw mounts are, and then I'll put the hinge over here and just make sure the JB Weld goes over all these little areas. But I have to make sure to put this cover back on first, of course. And then after I put the JB Weld, I cover these parts that have the JB Weld with some tape, so that way when I close this, the back of the screen won't stick to that. But I'll have to see what the customer wants, because the only other way, I'd have to cut the adhesive on here to even get the screen out to replace this, because this whole hinge mechanism has that whole metal bar going up into there. But anyways, I'm gonna call them and we'll see how that goes. And then I'll be back. I'm probably going to end up just putting it back together and doing the reassembly. Alright, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, so the customer told me that ever since they bought this computer, they never even really folded it backwards. So maybe, I don't know what's going on. Maybe they've never even used that feature. But I don't know what's going on with this. I have a feeling maybe when the hinge broke, this piece probably twisted a little bit. So what's happening is, instead of like the gears moving like this, it's kind of like twisting. So when it tries to turn, it goes partially, and then because the part of the gears are sticking out at the wrong angle, it like gets caught there. So it doesn't roll anymore further than this. And it looks like that would be kind of a natural viewing angle, which is slightly further than 90 degrees, which is like kind of just straight up. That would be kind of annoying unless you have the laptop up. So since it's slightly back, the customer said it's probably okay. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to put this thing back on there. Probably should have paid attention. There's this little notch here, but I don't think it really matters which. I don't think there's right side up or right side down. Let me see this side. Okay, so it's more just to hold the cable in place. If I put it this way, yeah, I mean, I don't think it really matters. Either way, it will hold the cable in place. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just put this thing back together. And I guess for the first time ever, I'm going to try and show how you can replace the hinge, or not replace the hinge, but repair the hinge stuff with JB Weld. So that way you kind of have a usable hinge without having to go and buy the actual replacement hinges. Okay, so I'm gonna just let's see, I need to unthread this for now. So I'm gonna put the screw back in there. Okay, this is gonna be, I don't think I can get a good view for you guys, I'm sorry, but we're just gonna put the screw back in this. I don't think anyone else does this kind of repair online anyway, so hopefully you guys appreciate this. Okay, there we go. So now this shield is back in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck the cable back in. Let's actually put the hinge back in the right place. And then we'll tuck the cable back in like before. And then get that in. So the cable just goes into that gap. And then this cable goes underneath this. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to put some JB Weld in here. So I'll try and show this. It's going to be a little tricky to film, but I'll do what I can. Let me see. Yeah, okay, let me go get some JB Weld and then I will show this. So you can see there's actually 3 missing broken screw things here. So when I put this back, I want those 3 screws to reconnect. So for now, I might have to take this cable out just to make it easier, or at least the top part of it. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna take this cable out just to make it easier. Come on. Okay. Alright, so just like that. Okay, so I can't, it's so hard to show this. Here you can see, or hopefully you can see those 3 screw holes. Okay, so there's nothing really behind the screen area. There's just the clips out here. So I could probably just put a small piece of tape over this once I finish. Okay, so what you do is you kind of take a look at the hole and kind of judge how much JB Weld you're going to need. You don't need the exact amount. It's better to make a little too much than not enough. After I've done this so much, I can judge it pretty well. So what I do is I take, I have this toothpick and I use like one side for the black part and then one side for the white part, and then I use a little screwdriver for stirring, because as you can see this thing broke and that's from stirring it. I just used the leftover JB Weld I had from other ones. Since I do this so many times, I just reuse the tools. But if you're just doing it one time, you can just use toothpicks. It's really easy. I just do it over and over again, and I don't want to keep getting a new toothpick each time, because that would be like a lot of toothpicks I'm just throwing in the garbage. So, okay, I mean, toothpicks are cheap, but whatever. That's just kind of my mindset. Okay, so we're gonna get out the JB Weld stuff. Why is it stuck? Okay, so you got 2 parts. There's black and white. You can also buy the smaller kits that kind of have, I don't know, this is like a large set where I think it's like, oh yeah, 10 ounce, so 5 ounce of the black one, 5 ounce of the white one. Okay, and what I do is, so I'll open this up. Usually you don't want to do this on top of the screen, but I'm kind of limited on space to kind of show you guys. I mean, I can, well actually let me set the screen aside, but I'm gonna have to bring it back anyways. So this aside for now. Put this somewhere safe. Okay, so here we go. Get this. All right, and again, what you do, this one had 3 screws, so I kind of eyeball it, and then, so since I'm going to fill 3 screws, I only need to get like 1.5 size of that into there. Okay, so that's probably already way too much, but again, as I said, it's better to have more than not enough. Yeah, that's probably way too much, but whatever. I'll put some of the epoxy underneath as well, so it can actually fill the gaps underneath the entire thing. Right, and then I always clean it off, all right, so that way it won't contaminate later. Right, then we get the black one, and you just get about the same amount. You want to try and get as close to the same amount as possible. Okay, so about there. If you're slightly off, it's not that big of a deal, but all right, that looks about right. Probably have more of the black stuff, but hopefully it'll be okay. Right, and then wipe that off as well. I mean, you can, if you're just doing this one time, which you probably are, you can just throw away the toothpicks again, because you're never going to have to use it again. All right, so then you just stir the two together. I like to do it on this clear thing. I mean, this is just junk I had from Ssd packaging, but when you work on it on a clear surface, you can kind of look underneath and you can see that it's not mixed all the way. So I kind of like that. You can use whatever you want. I don't know. All right, I'm just showing you guys how I do this stuff. Okay, and then once I mix that, I kind of like pull the whole thing and kind of like twist the screwdriver as I pull it away, so that way it kind of scrapes off all the epoxy. All right, then I just do it again. Same thing, pull it in, scrape that off. You can look underneath, you can see it's pretty even now, the color. It's still a little bit like, you can see some of the white and gray not mixed in. So I just do that and stir it all up. Okay. And this epoxy is nice because it's pretty thick, it holds its shape and form. This one is going to be a little tricky to do, especially on camera, just because I can't separate the 2 layers. So I have to do this all without letting it touch back together. So let me see how I can show this. Okay, so here you can see when I put this in, or hopefully you can. Let me try and zoom in some here. Oops, why is it zooming backwards? There we go. Okay, so here you can see the little screw mounts there. Basically what we're doing is we're going to fill those screw mounts with epoxy, and then what we do is the epoxy will go over the metal, so it acts as like the screw where it's like larger on top to hold that metal in frame or in place. Okay, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut a piece of tape to match the size of that. I probably should have done that before doing this. Actually, no, I'll put the epoxy first. Okay, so what we do is you kind of hold that in place. Maybe I should put something in here just to hold the screen. I'll try and do it and show it on camera, but we'll see. All right, so what you do, get a blob of the JB Weld, okay, and then you just fill these little holes up, and you kind of want to be careful. It's easier on this model if you, like the way this is built, is if you hold the hinge up out of the way, and you actually, I don't know how I'm going to show this, but there, but you actually fill up this area first, and then when you put the hinge back down, I'm going to do that off camera and then I'll show you, but yeah, hopefully you'll get the idea. Hold on, I'll be back. All right, so let's see if I can show this. So here you can see I put the epoxy in the 3 screw areas already. Now you just drop this back into place. Oops, sorry. Okay, and then you can see it all lines up, and then what you do is you put the epoxy in the rest. So I'm gonna just make sure that these clips all stay lined up. Okay, so I'm gonna try and hold this in place. This is a little hard to do trying to film it and show, but what you do, you just get the epoxy in here, okay? And it's gonna go outside, that's what you want, okay? Because if you look at how the screws are, hopefully if you open yours and you can see the screws on the other side, the screws actually go above, on top of the metal here, okay? Sorry if it's gonna go out of view, because I'm trying to focus on what I'm doing. I can't really watch the camera while I'm doing this, but okay, hopefully you get the point. You want to try and make sure that it doesn't have air bubbles in there too when you're doing this, okay? And it's okay to kind of fill like way more, like it doesn't have to all stay within that little circle. Like if you see how I'm like just putting a whole bunch, okay? You don't have to keep it in the little circle. Okay, but I'm probably gonna have to like take it off out of view again when I put the tape, because I can't do this all with one hand like this, or holding it this way, okay? So, okay, so I'm just getting all the epoxy in there. All right, so hopefully you can see what I did. There's all three, and what you want to do is make sure you push the hinges firm against the thing, so you can see when you push it, the epoxy actually flows out, and you can see there's actually a lot of epoxy in there. So I'm going to put a little more on the one that's the furthest down. Okay. There you go. So just like that, when you push the hinges down, if you pull it up, you can see you get a gap like that. That's how you can make sure you get enough epoxy, and then you can push it down and make sure it goes like that. Okay, so I'm gonna cut a piece of tape and then I'll show you. Oops, I'm gonna get epoxy everywhere. I need to make sure to clean that up. Okay. I accidentally touched the glue stuff that the epoxy that I mixed in this little plastic container. So I'm gonna set this aside so I don't accidentally touch it again. All right. Okay, and then what you want to do is cut a piece of tape that will fit this area, and then stick that on top. Okay, so I'm gonna pause the video. I'll cut a piece of tape. You just want it enough to cover all the epoxy, so when you close it, the epoxy doesn't go on the back of this. Okay, so I'm gonna cut a piece of tape and I'll be back. Actually, I might have one that's a good size here. Okay, so probably about that much. Okay, so I save like scrap pieces of tape, but I mean, if you're doing this, there's no point to save scrap pieces of tape. I don't know. I'm just, that's just how I am. I like save stuff. I pack rat stuff. Okay, so what you do, you just get this tape over. I'm gonna have to do this off camera because I can't do it in that view, but hopefully you'll get the point. I'm gonna put the piece of tape and then I'll show you once I put it back. Okay. Oh, I guess I'll leave the camera rolling. Okay. So hopefully that's okay. I did miss a little down there. I'm gonna put a little more tape. So as you can see, it's kind of flowing out. So I'm gonna cut another small piece there and then cover that. Okay, so you cut some more. And then the problem is, how do I get, there we go. Okay, sorry, I'm going out of view. So there we go. Hopefully you can see, covered it, the whole thing like that. And then you want to just put this all back together. So I'm going to zoom out and hopefully I can show this. Oops. Okay, so just like that, you want to kind of hold that. Make sure you're keeping the hinge down, okay? And then you can slowly let the screen go back and tuck this all. Again, every computer for this kind of thing differs, and you want to make sure you don't get any of the stuff on these connectors. If you do that, then you're kind of screwed. You're gonna have to replace that whole connector. I don't know if you can clean that stuff off, but there we go. So we got the JB Weld in there. Now we're gonna just snap all these clips back in place. And JB Weld, it takes several hours to completely harden. So you want to make sure that whichever way this hinge is sitting it's gonna stay that way. You don't want to open and close the computer. You want it, you can't use your computer until this completely sets. So I'm going to show you. Usually I tell people overnight, 24 hours if you can. A lot of people will say that's kind of too long, but yeah, as long as you can kind of give it overnight, I think at least 10 hours, you should be okay. Yeah, so anyways, I'm just gonna clean all this extra JB Weld off. Okay, sometimes I usually will end up with some extra. So if you have a project or something that you also might need some JB Weld for, you can try and get them all done at the same time, because yeah, then I end up always throwing away this, and I kind of feel like it's a waste. Some people will be like, whatever, it's only a few cents, but like as you saw, I saved like tape, like random junk tape, and then save JB Weld. It all adds up. So I mean, that's just how my mind works. I guess that's how I was raised, to always like save. So I ended up saving all this random junk, and it turned into a problem because of my pack rat stuff. But anyways, here we go. Keep that, at least that's what I do. You can throw yours away. Make sure all these clips are back in. Okay, and now what we're gonna do is put the hinges and everything back into the laptop. Okay, I need to make sure I got everything right. I have a screw here that I don't even know where it came from. Well, we'll see. Oh, I know where it came from. It came from the charge port. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and put this thing completely back together. Again, you want to be careful because this hinge, you actually want it to set completely. So usually what I do is once I completely finish, I will shut the laptop. So I'll show you. But again, I usually don't like showing people how to do this kind of repair because people will mess it up, and I don't want them to blame me for it. But I'll show you guys, because this is, hopefully you guys will see kind of how you can do this. And if you're careful enough and kind of do things right, then you can save some money versus buying a whole replacement hinge. Okay, so here you can see this hinge is kind of not lined up, but this is the one that's kind of more like already broken. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to align this hinge to match with it. Okay, and it's still not lined up right, so I'm going to adjust it again. Okay, so there we go. So now we got these hinges kind of matched up, and what I like to do is I like to close the laptop first. So because the way the hinge is broken here is the hinge pulls forward out, so what I do is I push down on the hinges here so what I'm holding here, okay, to make sure that the hinge stays down, and then I rotate it while I'm pushing it down, and that kind of forces the hinge to be pushed against the back of the screen, just like this. Okay, just like that, while I'm kind of pulling on the top of the trackpad or the palm rest, and then I push it like that. And now this thing, you don't want to open it again. If you open it again, that will pull the hinge away from this, and basically like where the thing is meeting, the epoxy's all in there. If you pull it, it'll pull the epoxy back out, and then it'll like pump it back when you close it. And it can also misalign the hinges. So you want to make sure that once you set it in a way, you just leave it there like that. All right, so I'm gonna leave that overnight, but I'm gonna put the rest back together. Hopefully I didn't forget anything that I have to reopen the thing first. But if I do, I'm gonna wait till this epoxy completely hardens, and then I'll do it if I need to. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna put back all these screws. Okay, let's see here. What did I do with my other bits? Oh, here it is. Okay, it's getting hidden by my pliers. Let me zoom in, because you don't need to stare at my legs. Alright, so here we go. We're going to put back the hinge screws. And I always like to use thread locker when it comes to hinge screws, but you use very little. Okay, so here you can see, just very little. Not even a drop, just a tiny bit. I don't know if you can even tell on there, but you can see it's like kind of shiny. All right, and then we're going to put this back. I've been told by people that the thread locker actually makes plastic brittle, and that's why you put very little. You don't want it to actually get into the plastic areas, and maybe that's partially also why like the manufacturers use this blue thread locker, but I don't know, maybe that's why the things are breaking. I have no idea. So anyways, I'm gonna put a tiny bit of thread locker on this one. Same thing, you know where the screw came from, it has a little arrow there. All right, or hopefully you know. If not, then just watch my video. Okay, so there we go. Get that screw in. Make sure it's nice and tight. Make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, again, this one I didn't take out because there's something holding this thing down, and I don't want to risk breaking it, ripping it out, since that wasn't an issue with their computer. So I'm just going to put the screw back. But if your charge port DC jack is broken, go to town on it. Just rip that thing out. Okay. You can probably even use the charge port, like plug it in and kind of like twist it around or something, or get something small and pry this out. But again, I don't want to risk damaging it because that wasn't broken on their computer. Okay. All right, so we got all of this in. We got these, so the wireless antennas are here. You do want to make sure it goes back into this plastic guide here. So just get it back under there. Okay. Just like this. All right. And then there was this thing taped down. I didn't pay attention to where it was taped down. I guess let me put the wireless card back in, and then I can just tape it down after. Okay, so I'm gonna get this black antenna to the black arrow. I can actually zoom in a little bit more now that stuff is done, I think. Okay. So black antenna to the black arrow, line it up, make sure it's lined up. The way you know it's lined up is when you have it lined up and you try and move it around, it stays in place really well. Then just snap that back down, right? White antenna, same thing, line it up. Snap that back down, there we go. Okay, so now I can see where this piece of adhesive would go. So I'm gonna do that, push that, let the wireless card go back up and tape it down. All right, and then we're gonna get this. Take that bracket, put that back on top. Okay, I should probably close the door because there's a lot of people talking over there. Okay, so this bracket, come on, go in place. Here we go. Alright, let me close the door real quick because I don't want like to pick up all the talking in the background. I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. So again, we got the wireless card in. Now we're going to go ahead and put back the motherboard or the logic board, whatever you want to call it. I would call these logic boards because the motherboards usually means you can attach a whole bunch of stuff to it. I mean, there's technically, oops, let me zoom out. There is technically a daughter board here, so I guess you can call this one a motherboard. But yeah, all right. So now this goes in. I'm doing it upside down compared to how I did it before, but this one goes in this way, and you want to have it at an angle because I think, actually on this I think it doesn't matter, but usually I would put it at a slight angle. Oh shoot, that's another thing. I didn't make sure. Oh wait, no, the board goes on top. That's right. Okay. Scared myself. Alright, so we're going to just get this all lined up. And the board on this actually doesn't have to go in at an angle. Make sure these cables all end up out from underneath the board. Okay. Get this cable out as well. Oh, did it tape itself down on there? What is it stuck on? There we go. Okay, get that cable out. And it might have to go, oh no, it doesn't have to go in at an angle. Good. Alright, so we got all of that out. Here you can see all this. We're going to put back the screws. I'm going to do it upside down just because that's how I started it. So that's how I had the screws all lined up. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more though so you can see better. Okay. There we go. Alright, so we're going to get these 3 screws here and put those in. All right, let's actually put the cables in just to make sure we didn't forget anything. Speaker cable. Get it lined up. All right, and then you want to pinch the two together just like this. Sometimes if you just push this over, I've seen some people like rip these connectors off the boards, so I no longer recommend just doing it like that. Okay, all right, so this kind of connector, let me zoom in a bit more. Okay, let me see, I think I already got all the connectors out from under the board. Hopefully nothing is trapped under there, because it is a little bit spongy. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, well, we'll put this stick of RAM back in. I don't know why I left it out, but we'll put it back. All right, it goes in at an angle like this. Make sure the notch lines up, and then make sure you push it in all the way, and then just snap it down. All right. Okay, this cable, again, make sure this tab is up. Make sure you don't have any epoxy on your fingers because you don't want to get it onto the connector here. Then you can use the blue tab. As you can see, you can grab it. There's some dust here. I want to make sure that doesn't get in there, and then put it in at an angle like that. There we go. These little wings will clear, and you can see like the black part of the connector past it. Then just flip this latch down, and there you go. All right, so we got these two connectors. So I'm gonna put in this one first. I might have to flip, oops. Okay, let me actually put these screws back, and then I'm gonna do that after to make it easier to see. All right, let's put back this screw. Put back this screw. Got the other two screws down here. Actually, hopefully I got it all in view. So 1, 2, 3, okay. I can't see that, so I'm gonna zoom out. There we go. And there's the fourth one here. All right, and the fifth screw here. All right, so we got all those screws back in. We can actually put the SSD back in here if we want. So SSD goes in here. They had it labeled side up. Goes in at an angle. All right, and then just push it down and put the screw back in place. Okay. There we go. And I like to make sure that the gold ring around it is pretty even. Okay, I mean, it can handle some slightly crooked, but I like to make sure it's even. All right. Then we're going to put this USB-C little metal bracket in. Drop that in place. Right, because this one has 2 screw mount points, I like to loosely fit one screw first. That way I can use that as like an adjustment point here. All right, use that to adjust it. Get the second screw in. There we go, and then we just tighten this down. There we go. Oops. Okay. Now we're going to reconnect the charge port or DC jack connector. Make sure you try and get the connector in straight, not at an angle. All right. And then same thing like the other one, like the speaker, pinch it together. Okay, this connector I'm going to flip it over because it's easier for me to work with when it's at like a different angle. So like this, I'll do this one. Okay. Again, use the metal latch. You can kind of use the bottom of that latch to pull it and move it around. Right, get that in place. Push at the bottom of the metal latches. Get it seated. Put the latch over. There you go. Right, I don't know why this tab doesn't have any glue on it like all the rest, but yeah. All right, and then we're gonna do the screen ones here. Same thing. Make sure the metal latch is on top, not underneath. Okay, pull it back, get it lined up, use the latch, pull it in place, and then put that latch down. Once you get that latch down, you can put the adhesive back. Right, this one, make sure that the latch is up. All right, use this adhesive tab to help line it up, get it in, and put that latch back down, and then you can put the tape on top as well. Again, you don't want to open this once you have it closed, because when you close it, it makes the pressure of the screen push the hinge completely flat. Okay? Alright, so now we're going to get the fan. Okay, so the fan goes that way. Yep. Okay. Just like this. Line it up. Pinch the two in place. Okay, just like that. Okay. And then again, because this has two screw mount points, I'll put one screw in loosely first, and then get the other screw. And then I always like to pull the fan as close to the heatsink as possible. We'll tighten it down. There we go. Alright, now we got the battery. I did this upside down last time, so kind of do that again. I mean, hopefully you guys will be able to figure out the orientation of which way I had it spun around. Okay, get the battery, line this up, use the wings to push it back in. Okay, again, I like to kind of pull both at the same time, just like this. Alright, line this all up. Okay, just like that. Here we go. Get the screws. Put that one in. And put this one in. Oh, I can't see what I'm doing. Oh, that's another thing. See, sometimes it don't line up, so you have to leave the screw loose. There we go. Then you can tighten that, and then tighten the other one. Alright, so we got all that. We're going to put on this bottom cover. There's a tiny bit of dust. I'm going to clean that out. The fan is already pretty much cleaned. Okay, we're going to take the bottom cover. Let's zoom out some. Oops, did I not get the... Oh wait, I did the battery. Okay. Then we'll just basically, like before, we lifted up this side, or this side first. So we're going to make sure the back gets snapped in first. Go back all around. Snap everything in. Okay, and then we're going to put the screws back. Again, these are hinge screws, so if you want, you can add thread locker to make it hold better. Because usually what happens is when the hinge screws come loose, that's when they end up start like prying things open. Alright, so I'll kind of demonstrate it in a bit, like why that happens. Okay, so let's put this screw in. Alright, next one, again, I put like very little, so. Okay, and I only put this over the hinge screws because those ones are the most important, and they take like constant stress in like both directions. Like it'll have like pulling, and then it'll have like pushing force, and that kind of switching motion causes the screws to loosen themselves. Okay, last one that needs the thread locker. There we go. Alright, now we're going to just put back all the rest of the screws. Okay. Alright, I don't know if you notice, I usually turn the screw backwards once to hear it click, like that, and then you can, that way it makes sure it goes in properly. Okay, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, please like and subscribe. Help others find my videos. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one. With the epoxy, you want to leave it down so that way the epoxy doesn't like flow up the opposite direction, though with the tape and everything it should be okay. But I like to make sure that the hinge kind of stays flat in that direction. Alright, so again, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the